Dear students, how are you? This is Dr. Ashit Chandra Das, Associate Professor of Pediatrics. Welcome you all to today's lecture class. Hope you are all in sound health in this critical pandemic situation. Our today's lecture is on neonatal jaundice. We know jaundice means the yellowish discoloration of skin and mucous membrane. First picture showing a normal newborn baby and his skin color is pink. But in the second picture, the skin color is yellowish. This means the baby suffering from neonatal jaundice. So what is neonatal jaundice? Jaundice which develops during neonatal period is called neonatal jaundice. Neonatal jaundice observed about 60% of term and 80% of preterm infants. And this yellow coloration in jaundice results from accumulation of unconjugated non-polar lipid-soluble bilirubin pigment in the skin. Now, classification of neonatal jaundice. There are two types: physiological jaundice and non-physiological or pathological jaundice. Now come to the etiology. Jaundice which appears within first 24 hours, the commonest etiology is RH incompatibility and ABO incompatibility. Other rare causes are congenital spherocytosis, minor blood group incompatibility, and glucose 6-phosphate dehydrogenase deficiency. Second is when jaundice appears within 3 to 10 days, the commonest cause is physiological jaundice. And other causes are jaundice of prematurity, sepsis, and galactosemia. When jaundice persists beyond 2 weeks, this is called persistent jaundice, and this may be unconjugated or may be conjugated hyperbilirubinemia. The unconjugated or indirect hyperbilirubinemia, the persistent cause of persistent jaundice is breast milk jaundice, hypothyroidism, infantile hypertrophic pyloric stenosis, galactosemia, etc. And the conjugated or direct hyperbilirubinemia, the persistent cause of persistent jaundice are intrahepatic cause or extrahepatic cause. The intrahepatic causes are commonest cause is septicemia, other causes idiopathic neonatal hepatitis, and the extrahepatic causes are biliary atresia and colorectal cyst. Now come to the why physiological jaundice occurs in a newborn baby. The cause of physiological jaundice, the most common cause is the total RBC count is more in newborn baby. This is because in intrauterine life, the saturation of oxygen in the fetal blood is less than after delivery. That is around 50% in fetus, which is more than 95% in newborn and children. So this hypoxic state stimulates the fetal kidney to secrete erythropoietin, which repeatedly stimulates bone marrow and produce more and more RBC. So the RBC mass is large in fetus and a newborn baby. On the other hand, the RBC lifespan is less in a newborn baby, and that is around 90 days in term baby and 40 to 60 days in preterm baby, which is 120 days in infant, children, and adult. And other causes of physiological jaundice are the immaturity of liver. So if the liver is immature, then when the bilirubin uptake is less by the liver, and also bilirubin conjugation is slow in the liver of a newborn baby. Now, pathogenesis of RH incompatibility. RH incompatibility occurs in a mother with RH negative blood group and when he carry a baby of or fetus of RH positive blood group. When this RH positive blood group enters into the mother's blood, and this usually occurs during last trimester or during delivery. So when this RH positive blood enters into maternal blood, This stimulates the maternal immunity and sensitizes the mother, produce immunoglobulin. In the first pregnancy, this immunoglobulin is IgM type, and this can cross the placenta. So first baby is spared. In the subsequent pregnancy, when the Rh positive blood enters into the maternal circulation, it produces a huge immune response and produces large amount of immunoglobulin G. And this IgG easily crosses the placenta, enters into the fetal circulation, and binds with Rh antigen and causes hemolysis. So this is the cause of Rh incompatibility. And the ABO incompatibility, the pathogenesis is uh, in ABO incompatibility, the maternal blood group must be O blood group, and the baby's blood group must be A or B blood group. So we know in O blood group there are two natural antibody present in the blood, anti-A and anti-B. On the other hand, in A blood group, antibody present is anti-B, and in the B blood group, antibody present is anti-A. So when a mother blood group is O, then the mothers have the two antibody anti-A and anti-B. Usually this is called natural antibody, and usually this antibody are IgM type, which can cross the placenta. But in 10% cases, this immunoglobulin is IgG type, which can cross the placenta. So if a mother offers a O blood group and a baby A blood group, so A antigen present in the fetus and mother has anti-A antibody. If this antibody IgG type, this will cross the placenta, enters into the fetal circulation and attach with the A antigen of the fetal blood and causes hemolysis. So these are the common pathogenesis of Rh incompatibility, ABO incompatibility. Now the differentiating features, physiological and pathological jaundice. Physiological jaundice becomes visible on the second or third day. Disease is peak by 5th to 6th day and declines by 7 to 8 day of life in case of term baby and 10 to 11th day in case of preterm baby. And bilirubin level rises at a rate of less than 5 milligram per dl per 24 hours. In case of pathological jaundice, if jaundice appears on first day, this is always pathological jaundice. But pathological jaundice may appear on first day, second day, third day, or any day. Bilirubin level rises at a rate of more than 0.5 milligram per dl per hour or more than 10 milligram per dl per day. If the jaundice persists more than 10 days in term and more than 21 days in preterm babies, this is always pathological jaundice. If there is signs of jaundice along with signs of sepsis along with jaundice, this jaundice may be due to septicemia. If the jaundice extended up to palm and sole, this is always pathological jaundice. And jaundice with pale stool and yellow urine is also pathological. Now the clinical evaluation. First of all, history taking. Order of pregnancy. Order of pregnancy is important in case of Rh incompatibility. Because in case of Rh incompatibility, first pregnancy, first baby is usually spared. But this is not important other cause of jaundice. Age of appearance of jaundice is important, we discussed earlier. Now history of jaundice in previous child is also important. If the jaundice in previous child present, we may suspect there may be Rh incompatibility or ABO incompatibility or any other metabolic disease. History of death of any baby due to jaundice is also important, and this may be due to hemolytic jaundice or any metabolic disease. Blood grouping and Rh typing of both mother and baby is also important for the diagnosis. And history of intrauterine deaths, abortion in mother, and this two information is important for Rh negative mother. Now physical examination. First of all, extent of the jaundice. There is a Kramer's rule by which we can assume the approximate level of serum bilirubin. If the jaundice extend up to neck, the approximate serum bilirubin level is 6 milligram per dl. If the jaundice extend up to umbilicus and upper arm, the approximate serum bilirubin level is 10 milligram per dl. If the jaundice extend up to knee, the serum bilirubin level approximately 12 milligram per dl. If up to wrist and ankle, then 15 milligram per dl. And if jaundice extend up to palm and sole, that is serum bilirubin level is above 16 milligram per dl. This is called Kramer's rule. Other clinical features should be searched for, like payload, hepatosplenomegaly, any evidence of sepsis like lethargy, poor feeding, respiratory distress, vomiting, diarrhea, abdominal distension, etc. And abnormal neurological behavior like convulsion, rigidity, etc. This is important, and this may develop maybe due to sepsis or meningitis, or maybe due to the complication of jaundice like kernicterus. Now, investigations. First of all, serum bilirubin level. The fractionated serum bilirubin level should be done. Direct bilirubin and indirect bilirubin to determine the cause of jaundice. Because if the direct bilirubin is increased, then the cause is usually cholestasis. And indirect bilirubin increase may be due to physiological, may be due to blood group incompatibility or other causes. Now, blood grouping and RS typing of both mother and baby is very much important and should be done. Then complete blood count and peripheral blood flow. Complete blood count, hemoglobin may be reduced if there is hemolysis, that is blood group incompatibility like RH or ABO incompatibility. Total WBC count may be increased or decreased in septicemia, and platelet count may also decrease in septicemia. So CBC is a complete blood count is very much important to diagnose the cause of jaundice, and peripheral blood print to see the evidence of hemolysis. Reticulocyte count should be done if we suspect hemolytic jaundice, like RH or ABO incompatibility. And Coombs test also done, both direct and indirect, and this may be positive in case of RH and ABO incompatibility. C-reactive protein should be done to exclude septicemia. And in case of prolonged neonatal jaundice, we discussed earlier the cause of prolonged neonatal jaundice. If indirect hyperbilirubinemia, then thyroid function test should be done, septic screening should be done, urine flow reducing substance should be done to exclude galactosemia, and glucose 6-phosphate dehydrogenase enzyme level should be done to exclude glucose 6-phosphate dehydrogenase deficiency. But if there is conjugated hyperbilirubinemia, then TORCH screening should be done, liver function test should be done, and ultrasonogram of hepatobiliary system should be done. And the commonest cause is the biliary atresia and choledochrosis to exclude this, and also exclude TORCH infection. Now the treatment of the neonatal jaundice. First of all, you should counsel the parents about the disease, and then supportive treatment. In supportive treatment, maintenance of hydration is very much important. If there is needed for phototherapy or exchange transfusion, then adequate hydration should be maintained, and also fluid and electrolyte balance should be maintained. And if the baby is normal, then breastfeeding may allow or if the baby is sick, then NG2 feeding or IV fluid should be started. And the specific treatment of neonatal jaundice is phototherapy and exchange transfusion. And this phototherapy and exchange transfusion depends on the level of serum bilirubin level. And then treatment of the cause if present. That is, if the jaundice is due to septicemia, then sepsis should be treated. If the jaundice is due to biliary atresia or cholelithiasis, surgery should be done. These two pictures, the left one shows the phototherapy and the right picture shows the procedure of exchange transfusion. Now the phototherapy. Blue light phototherapy is more effective, and this is rapidly decrease the serum bilirubin level. This blue light isomerizes the photoisomerizes the bilirubin in the skin and then excrete through the kidney. And phototherapy, whether phototherapy needed or not, this depends on the postnatal age of the baby and the level of serum bilirubin level. But generally, we start phototherapy when serum bilirubin level reached 10 to 12 milligram per deciliter in case of preterm baby and 15 milligram per dl in case of term baby. This is general load. But actually phototherapy should be start by plot the serum bilirubin level in the bilirubin chart. Now the indication of exchange transfusion. If the cord bilirubin level is more than 5 milligram per dl, that is after delivery, when cord is cut in the delivery room, then cord blood is sent for serum bilirubin level, and if the bilirubin level is more than 5 milligram per dl, and this is usually sent in case of RH incompatibility. And if the cord hemoglobin level is less than or equal to 10 gram per dl. So if bilirubin level is 5 milligram per dl or more and hemoglobin level is less than or equal to 10 gram per dl, then exchange transfusion should be done in the first day. If the bilirubin level is rising more than 0.5 milligram per dl per hour despite phototherapy, then exchange transfusion should be done. If the unconjugated bilirubin level is 20 milligram per dl or more in term baby, and in case of preterm babies, more than 1 milligram per 100 gram of body weight. That is, if a baby's weight is 1000 gram, then and serum bilirubin level is more than 10 milligram per dl, then exchange transfusion should be done. In case of if the baby's weight is 1500 gram and serum bilirubin level is more than 15 milligram per dl, then exchange transfusion should be done. And other indication is if intensive phototherapy has failed to reduce bilirubin level to a safe range. So these are the indication of exchange transfusion. Now the complication of neonatal jaundice or neonatal hyperbilirubinemia. The one complication is kernicterus, and this is a dangerous complication because if kernicterus develop, we can't reverse it. It will damage the brain of the baby, usually basal ganglia. So our target is to prevent development of kernicterus. Now complication of phototherapy. When we start phototherapy, some complication may develop in the newborn baby, like loose stool, hyperthermia. Hyperthermia usually don't develop if we use blue light phototherapy, but may develop if the white light phototherapy is used. Hypothermia may also develop because the baby should be exposed when we place the baby in phototherapy. So we should follow up the baby whether hypothermia developed or not. And especially develop in winter season. Erythematous macular rash may develop some babies, and some baby may develop dehydration. So adequate hydration is mandatory when a baby placed in phototherapy. Retinal damage may occur if the light directly enter into the eye of the baby, then retinal damage may occur. That's why eye shield should be placed over the eye of the baby when the baby placed in the phototherapy unit. So these are the complications of some complications of phototherapy. Now the complications of exchange transfusion. There are some early complications and some late complications. Early complications mainly metabolic complications like hypocalcemia, hypoglycemia, metabolic acidosis, hyperkalemia, arrhythmia, volume overload may develop, and also infection may develop. So this metabolic abnormality usually develop uh, because we in exchange transfusion we use the blood of adult, and in the blood bag the preservatives are used acid citrate dextrose. So hypocalcemia develop because this citrate binds with the calcium of the baby. So hypocalcemia may develop. This is because of preservatives in the blood bag. Hypoglycemia may develop because exchange transmission is time consuming and more than 1 hour may be required to complete the procedure. So hypoglycemia may develop, and we should look for hypoglycemia. Metabolic acidosis may develop because of the preservative of the blood bag. Hyperkalemia usually develop if we use the if you don't use the fresh blood, then hyperkalemia may develop. The late complications of excess transfusion is anemia and portal vein thrombosis and portal hypertension. We are almost at the end. Now please advice for me, and please follow the advice of WHO. Please maintain social distance. Please obey the government rules, both instructions and restrictions. Please value health, both yours and your close ones. And practice healthy behaviors and avoid social gathering. Stay home, stay safe. God bless us all. Thank you. Thank you very much. ये करो, बंद करो। एकदम